Most small businesses don't fail because of competition or bad luck. They fail because of avoidable mistakes, and chances are you're making at least one of these right now. These 7 business killers are draining your revenue, scaring off customers, and keeping you stuck. The good news, once you've spot them, they're easy to fix if you catch them in time. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Stacy Tuschl, and I've been a business owner now for over 2 decades, and my businesses generate over $10 million in annual revenue. I've worked with thousands of business owners, and my team does hundreds of free consultations every single week. So we've pretty much heard it all. The first mistake that we see is number 1, selling reactively instead of strategically. A story I want to share is about a coffee shop that waited way too long. It was a small cafe that was doing well in its first year, and they were relying on foot traffic and word of mouth, and it was working. However, as new competitors popped up, they started to experience an actual decline in sales. So instead of building a proactive sales strategy, they only ran discounts and promotions when cash flow got tight. By the time they tried to ramp up their marketing, their audience had already shifted to competitors with stronger loyalty programs and a better online presence. The lesson learned here is consistently generate leads through email marketing and long-term customer retention strategies, not just last-minute discounts. Implement seasonal promotions in advance instead of just reacting to downturns. I always think you can just tell when a business starts to get desperate. You can feel the energy shift. You can see the coupons and the discounts, and you just know they might not be in business much longer. Now think about the way that you behave when you think a business isn't going to be here. You may decide to go someplace where the business is already winning and they look like they're going to be here longer term. Number 2, they're stuck in operations instead of scaling. So a retail store owner who couldn't let go, she had a small boutique and she insisted in being involved in every decision. From selecting merchandise to handling customer complaints, she was working 80+ hour weeks and she was refusing to delegate, thinking no one could run the store as well as she could. And as a result, she never had time to strategize or expand. And then she had an unexpected health issue that forced her to take time off. What happened? Well, the store struggled and she had no choice but to shut down. The lesson learned is you have to build a strong team and trust them to handle the day-to-day operations. You want to document systems and processes so the business can run without you. If the business needs you for everything, you are in a really scary territory. Number 3, not knowing your numbers. Here's a story of a restaurant that doesn't track expenses. So it's a family-owned restaurant that is packed every night, yet they're struggling to pay their bills. The owner assumed that they were profitable because they were busy, but they never actually looked at their profit margins. And after months of financial stress, the bank account feeling tighter, they finally looked at their numbers and realized that their food costs were so much higher than the industry average due to waste and supplier overcharges. So by the time they adjusted, they had too much debt to recover. The lesson learned here is tracking revenue is not enough. You must understand your profit margin and expenses and using those financial reports monthly, not just when something feels off. They could have been tracking key performance indicators like cost per dish or labor percentage. Any sort of data like that is going to tell you when things are going well and when things are not. Number 4, ignoring reputation management. Karate studio that didn't respond to bad reviews. Let's talk about this. So there's a studio that built its business through word of mouth, but as competitors grew, their online reputation started to suffer, and a few negative Yelp reviews about rude staff, long wait times went unanswered. Over time, their Google rating dropped from 4.8 to 3.5. Now that might not sound too bad, but how many times do you look at somebody with 4.8 and 3.5 and who do you pick? Obviously the higher one. So a lot of new customers were doing the same. They were choosing the higher rated studios instead. Only realized the impact when regular clients started going elsewhere. The lesson learned is monitor and respond to online reviews to control your brand's image. Responding to negative reviews, I believe a lot of times it's more for everybody else that's going to read it than it is for the one person that left that bad review. So make sure you're checking. Engage with your customers and address complaints before they damage trust. And again, reply to every review, positive or negative, and encourage happy clients to leave feedback. Number 5, trying to do everything yourself. Here's a freelancer who burned out. She was a graphic designer that started as a freelancer and quickly gained more clients than she could actually handle. And instead of outsourcing admin, billing, scheduling, she tried to manage everything herself to save money on payroll. But she became overwhelmed, missed deadlines, and her quality of work actually started to decline. By the time she came to us, clients had started leaving, and within a year, she lost over half her business. The lesson she learned is you can't scale alone, which is why she came to us to help her delegate and outsource time-consuming tasks. You want to invest in a virtual assistant or a part-time support before you burn out. Automate admin work with project management tools, AI, Trello. Hire a VA to manage your emails. There's a million things you could be getting off your plate. Number 6, overspending or underspending. So there's a pool installation company that expanded too fast. So this was a small family-owned pool install company that had a record-breaking summer. So demand was high, they saw an opportunity to expand quickly, and the owner decided to immediately lease a second location, buy additional trucks, hire more workers before securing those long-term contracts. For a few months, it looked like it was working. However, as summer ended and demand dropped sharply, they struggled to cover those high lease payments and increase their payroll costs. So the new trucks are now sitting unused, and they had to lay off workers within 6 months. That financial strain forced them to close the second location, and they barely avoided bankruptcy. The lesson learned here is avoid premature expansion. Scale based on long-term demand, not seasonal spike. Just because something is happening in the economy doesn't mean it's here to stay. So yes, there could be a temporary spike, and you've got to be careful that you don't confuse that with long-term business. Start tracking cash flow trends and plan for off-season slowdowns in industries like pool installation, landscaping, etc. Invest in marketing and sales before hiring too aggressively, and ensure consistent leads before expanding. Mistake number 7 is not having a business plan. So a dentist who expanded without a plan. This was actually a doctor who'd been working as an associate dentist for several years before they actually said, okay, I want to open up my own practice. And he was excited by the opportunity, took out a large loan to build this high-end dental office in a prime location, hired staff, purchased the equipment. However, there was one major issue. He never actually created a plan. He assumed that because he was a great dentist, patients would just come. And within the first 6 months, the practice was struggling to attract new patients. You might be a great dentist, but what do you know about marketing and sales? There was no marketing strategy, no pricing model, no clear revenue projections. And his overhead was high because of the expensive equipment and these amazing professionals he had hired, and now lease payments. And without enough cash flow, he had to let go of staff, cut operating hours, and actually take out additional loans just to keep the doors open. By year 2, debt had piled up and he was forced to sell the practice at a loss. We actually see this quite a bit in our free consultations. Business owners just assume this is going to be easy, and then they get into it and they realize there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. Now, when I say business plan, I don't need some crazy professional business plan. I didn't have that either. But you should have an idea on what is market research? What is our pricing strategy going to be? What are financial projections? What's our marketing plan for the next 6 to 12 months? How are we going to attract new clients? Are we going to have a referral program? What is it? Do we need social media marketing? All of that needs to be in place before you open. Before you launch, get that market research, build your retention strategy, and ensure operating costs match your revenue projections. This might sound like a lot because it is, and this is the exact type of thing we help business owners with. If you want to find out how Well Oiled can help you streamline and scale, you can book a free call at bookwoocall.com. Don't let these mistakes kill your business. Every business owner makes mistakes, but the difference between success and failure is how quickly you identify and correct them.